Okay, so let's go through the rest of the code, and then also um, I made a minor change to blur just the goggles, and we'll see how we can do that and what is the outcome of that. So after that, after this line of code, which we discussed on the last video, so we have some sort of code here to get cv2.cap prop frame width and frame height. cv2 cap prop fps, so we get width, height and fps from this whole expression. And for that, we're just reading. These are just constants that we're reading from cv2 directly. What we can do is just leave a pdb here to inspect that as well. And pdb, actually I'll just do pdb set trace because I've imported that already, and I'll fix my next line of code here as well for that. So we'll take a look at that. Blur ratio, so 50, I'm guessing 0 being no blur and 100 being blur, so this is like half blur. Video writer, so this is an object that writes a video, so it's an instance of the video writer. And we have the name here, object blurring output.avi, and video writer for cc is mp4v format, probably codec of some sort, but like I don't want to go too deep into that right now. And then we're using this fps width and height that we read from the constants. Then we have this big while loop running, and it basically runs until the end of the video. So it's running from up to line 52. So what's happening here is we have this success boolean and the actual image while we're reading every frame, and then we have so this condition here, and we have results, whatever the model predicts for that image, and we have boxes. So these boxes are for all bounding box, all objects that it detects. So it's creating these bounding boxes, and it's giving us information for each box, right? So, and then we have a class as well. So that's the prediction class, classified class, or we can say annotator. So this annotator is the one that when we see this image again, we can see the bounding boxes on the actual image. So that's what it will show us. And what we're doing is we're going through each boxes. So if boxes is not none, meaning there is something on the box, for box and class in zip, so we're zipping these two things up to iterate over them as a so for pretty much for one box and class. And I'll do a pdb set trace there, and we'll take a look. And then we are going through each of these. Like there's some code here which is getting the, so we are getting the image section using the box information, and this object variable references to that matrix, and then we're applying a blur on that object, and then we are doing this in reverse. So we're putting this blurred object back where we picked it up from, right? So that's basically the referencing. So first we picked up from the matrix, and then we blurred it and we put it back into the matrix. And then so we do this for each frame of the video, and then we write that video into the new video file. I just want to run this so we see that in action. Terminal. Okay, terminal's actually squeezed, so let's just run that. We should have this first PDB set trace, which we'll look at this. So I just want to do CV2, look at this constant. So the cap capture prop frame width is 3 and capture prop frame height is 4, and then we have prop frame per second is 5. Again, like these are just constants we're reading from, as width, height, sorry, W. What happens if I do that? Yeah, and then oh, I see. So we're getting a constants for these variable, and we're actually reading them from the captured video capture instance here. So that's giving us the width and then height. Okay, that makes sense. And then also the FPS, the frame per second, so 25. Okay, that's pretty good. That makes sense. And now we do continue, and then we stop at this for loop. So like I said, we have a big while loop here that runs until the end of the video. And by the way, I did trim this video down to 7 seconds instead of 13. And if we look at this PDB, this breakpoint here, so we have quite interesting things happening. So if we look at a box, so we have boxes, and then this is one box we're iterating over. You can see we have 4 exact point of where the 4 corners are for that object detected, whatever the object that was detected. And then we also have the class index. So if I print class at it's not printing class because that's also a Python, like we refer to class in Python as CLS. Thinking that's the case. Let me see how I can. No, it's just showing why. So box and then class CLSS. Let's just see that. Okay, so it's actually 0.0. I wonder why that is. So that's technically 0 because what we need to do for that is do int of class and then pick up from names. Was it names? Names. What happens if I do int of CLS? So names, and then if I do int, what happens if I just do CLS? We get person. Okay. So the first one we get is a person. Now let's just read what is 67, right? So names 67. So that's a cell phone. Now the reason I picked cell phone here is cell phone is the wrong prediction of the VR goggles. So it's predicting that as a cell phone, and it could be because we don't have. I wonder if it can actually pick that up. If we could probably train it and then let it pick up the VR goggles. But for now, we're just going to continue. But you see my point. Like it predicted the wrong thing, and I'm using that wrong thing to blur that VR goggles. So now we're just going to continue, and what's happening here we already discussed. Anything else? No. So we're just going to continue and then watch the video as it gets blurred. So to continue, we'll just do pdb set trace lambda equals to none, so it just sets it to none function, and then continue. As you can see here, so So it's picking up the cell phone from time to time. There we go. So it's calling it a cell phone, but it is doing a blur on it, as you can see. And sometimes it's not, right? So it's like the cell phone or the VR goggle is actually not in the scene. And as you can see, as soon as it comes in the scene and it can identify, it does that. So that is pretty cool. I hope you learned something from this video. I definitely learned quite a lot about these model and how to use them. And yeah, I'll continue to make these videos and upload.